Koikimedia, we bring this one closer to your doorstep. Àwọn sọ́lára àgbà yìí dá, àwa ló láṣà àti èdè. Ìgbéde lárugẹ nílẹ̀ Oòduà, àwa gangan ni bàbá. Koikimedia, Koikimedia, Koikimedia. We bring this one closer to your doorstep. Yes, if I sabi, wetin we carry for her. But if they move closer before they go sabi. I said, they never know wetin we carry for body. But if they move closer before they go sabi. Ìlọlọ́jà ẹyẹ ìwúlò ló lájú. Ẹyẹ tó tó bí kòkó ní àjọ wọn gbọ́dọ̀ lẹ́nu. A ṣiṣẹ́ fún ilẹ̀ bàbá wa. A ṣiṣẹ́ fún ìlú bàbá wa. Kájùmọ̀ sowọ́pọ̀ ká lè bójúlú àga. Òdúdú ọkọ̀ bá lè pè wá. Ọmọ Odùduwà ṣe kiri. Ẹ dìde fún ẹ̀tọ́ adúláwọ̀. Ká lè jọ jùmọ̀ gbé. Ilẹ̀ ìlérí, àwa lẹ́gbà ògo ilẹ̀ wa. Ká ṣiṣẹ́ ká lè jọ gbàdé. Ká lè gbàdé adé adúláwọ̀. Àwa ni ìmọ̀lẹ̀ tí yóò tàn káàkiri. Koikimedia, àwa là ń gbé tó lárugẹ. Ètò tó gbójú owó tí wọ́n máa ní. Àṣà ẹgbẹ́ jẹ́ ayé jẹ́. Ètò tó gbójú owó tí wọ́n máa ní. À ń gbé tó lárugẹ, à ń gbàṣà lárugẹ. Ètò tó gbójú owó tí wọ́n máa ní. News and sports, ẹ máa rí gbọ́. Ètò tó gbójú owó. Ọmọ Ìjẹ̀bú alárẹ̀ mi ló ní kí n máa ké tata. Koikimedia, ọ̀rọ̀ lágbàdìmọ̀ mi. Má bá ṣẹlẹ̀ lọ. Ọmọ Yorùbá nìyẹn, ọmọ Yorùbá tata o. Àjálù rẹ̀, ọmọ Ìjẹ̀bú alárẹ̀ mi. Ṣé ìlọ máa fi dìbò tẹ̀ mọ́lẹ̀ o? Ẹ̀yin lọmọ nígbò máa lè máde. Ẹ̀yin lọmọ nígbò máa wọ̀. Ìgbò máa wọ̀ gẹ́gẹ́ bí olówó. Àyẹ̀dí tó bá wọ̀ bẹ̀ àtẹ̀lẹ̀ yẹn bọ̀ra. Ẹ̀yin lọmọ náwó òyìnbó tó dé. Ìgbà tó yìnbó dé o, owó náà dẹ́ tún pọ̀ sí o. Koikimedia, sáwa ní bàbá. Koikimedia, àwọn ni bàbá. Koikimedia, àwọn ni bàbá. Àdáńtọ́, àtúnpèrè gidi. Koikimedia, àwọn ni bàbá. Àwa là ń gbé tó lárugẹ jẹ́ ká jọgbọ́ o. Koikimedia, àwọn ni bàbá. Àtúnjà fẹ́tọ̀ ilẹ̀ wa, fẹ́tọ̀ ilẹ̀ Yorùbá. Koikimedia, àwọn ni bàbá. Ọmọ Oòduà ni wá o. Koikimedia, àwọn ni bàbá. Ikú tó lè rí èmi ò sí, àdìmú bàbá yọ. Koikimedia, àwọn ni bàbá. We bring you one closer to your doorstep. Koikimedia, àwọn ni bàbá. Afẹ́fẹ́ tó ń fẹ́ òòlù kan ní oko lára ni. Koikimedia, àwọn ni bàbá. Àpèrè gidi Olódùmarè ló fún wa ṣe. Koikimedia, àwọn ni bàbá. Gbogbo ayé ẹ̀gbọ́n, àwa ni bàbá o. Koikimedia, àwọn ni bàbá. Ẹ máa bọ̀ wá ẹgbẹ́ polówó ọjà yín wá o. Koikimedia, àwọn ni bàbá. Òdúdúwà lágbèdá ní òtítọ́ lágbèdá ní. Koikimedia, àwọn ni bàbá. Àti sọ́dalẹ̀, àti sódìkẹta. Koikimedia, àwọn ni bàbá. Àgbọ̀tán, àgbọ̀pẹ̀lẹ̀gẹ̀dẹ̀. Koikimedia, àwọn ni bàbá. Koikimedia, we bring you one closer to your doorstep. Àwọn ni bàbá. Koikimedia is around to give us latest. Is around to give us latest. Ladies and gentlemen, ẹ mú kalẹ̀ sílẹ̀. Ẹ tẹ́tí ẹ gbọ́ ètò tó gbójú lọ́wọ́. Ladies and gentlemen, Koikimedia is around.
Mo kí gbogbo ọlẹ́ẹ̀kan ṣe má bínú pé a lè jáde ní ìyẹn mo ṣe fẹ́ máa give time tí bá ti give time ó máa ń dàbí commitment but ìgbà tí mo wọlé I was very tired, extremely tired. It's been a marathon for the last couple of weeks. But a dúpẹ́ fọ́lọ́run fún gbogbo oore tó ṣe fún wa gẹ́gẹ́ bí ọmọ Yorùbá. Kò ń ṣagbára wa, agbára Elédùmarè, agbára Jésù Kristi, agbára Ànábì Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A dúpẹ́ pé ó fún wa lálàáfíà. Ẹ ràn pé àlàáfíà la lè fi ṣe gbogbo tá à ń ṣe yìí. So nígbà tí mo ní mo máa jáde ní aago 2, ìgbà tí máa fi wọlé ká tó ṣe this ṣe that kí n tó lọ ṣe àwọn kankan míì I was naked. So mo kàn lọ sùn nígbà tí máa fi parí. So ẹ má bínú sí wa. But we will catch up. Kò sígbà tá a lè ṣe program lórí platform wa. Mo ṣe sọ pé 24 hours ní bíbáyìí. Ẹ wo topic tá fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ lé lórí láti èní títí di oṣù tó ń bọ̀. Ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ọmọ Yorùbá ń béèrè pé kí ni ìdí tá ṣe fẹ́ kúrò nínú Nàìjíríà. Mo kí Ìyá mi Bọ́lá ti tó Adérìntó. Gbogbo ẹ̀yin tẹ́ bá wà aware torí mom sí mi náà tí wọ́n ti fẹ́ stress mi pa látàárọ̀ pé Koiki mo ti ń pè ẹ́ ṣé yẹ kí n máa pè wọ́n kí n máa rí ẹ get. Apparently Yahoo mail is down. In case tẹ́ bá lè access Yahoo yín ẹ̀yin tẹ́ wà Nàìjíríà ẹ má kí yàn kankan sáré fún yín ní fàbú pé lọ́mọ́wó kan wá. In the last hour mom sí mi náà ti wà stressed out because she couldn't access her email. Wọ́n dẹ̀ ní appointment kan níbi almost 4 o'clock. Mo ti ní kó pa internet kó restart it only for me to just think about it. Ìyẹn la ṣe sọ pé sórí tó bá béèrè lọ́wọ́ Jésù Kristi má máa condemn Jésù kò sí tó pọn ẹ̀ àwọn tó ń lo Jésù fi wọ́n sílẹ̀. Torí pé àwọn tó ń lo Jésù yẹn àdúrà ń gbà látara bẹ̀ èyí tí wọ́n bá ń ṣe ni kò mú dání. So nígbà tí mo sì mi pè mí mo ò lè sáré pe Ọlọ́run níbi tó wà, mo ò lè sáré pe Jésù Kristi, mo dẹ̀ lè pe Ànábì Muhammad, but mo lọ sórí Google. Mo wá fi sórí Google pé is Yahoo kíntẹ̀ tó kọ́ tán délẹ̀ ó ti gbé jáde. Nígbà tí ó gbé jáde ó fún mi ní 16,300 results. Ìyẹn ni pé tabana fẹ́ Yorùbá nation àwọn kan máa ní kí ni benefit ẹ̀ Koiki ṣé torí pé ẹ fẹ́ràn àwọn Haúsá àbí Fúlàní wá sọ ìdí fún wa torí wọlé ẹnu ẹ dùn jù láàrin gbogbo wọn. Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Bọ̀rọ̀kìnní Òsénì Balógun ìyẹn làwọn ọmọ Yorùbá tá bá ronú kankan ọmọ Yorùbá ni a tún pè ẹ́. Ó ní Mr. Koiki mo ní Ọlọ́run yọ yín mo ṣe jí ní o torí pé tẹ́ bá pè bẹ́ẹ̀ tẹ́ bá get mi máa fi fóònù ẹ sí silent. Wọ́n wá ní ìlú kan wà mo ní dárúkọ ọdún yẹn wọ́n náà ń béèrè pé kí ni ìdí gangan ta náà ṣe fẹ́ kúrò ní Nàìjíríà ṣé torí Fúlàní tó ń pa wá ní mo ní no Fúlàní kẹ̀ wọ́n ti gba identity lọ́wọ́ wa dára wa mọ̀ mọ́ gẹ́gẹ́ bí ọmọ Yorùbá because ti bá travel nísìn pẹ̀lú Nigerian passport kò sẹ́ni tó máa mọ̀ ọmọ Yorùbá ni mí. Òyìnbó tó ń wo passport Nàìjíríà lórí kò rí Yorùbá lára mi. So Yahoo mail is down. Ìyẹn ni kí kọ́kọ́ fún ẹ torí pé o lè má lè access email ẹ. Yahoo mail is down. Update. This about 9 minutes ago. Thousands of workers unable to access the email app. Outage as AOL user. Ìyẹn wá látorí The Sun newspaper. They want to say, is Yahoo mail down? Kí ló fà á? So, in case you cannot access your email, kò ń ṣe fault ẹ, Yahoo kò kọ̀ down ni, ó ṣe é ṣe kó padà, wọ́n máa ṣiṣẹ́ lé lórí. A ti wá sí ojú ètò again, kí la tún mú wá lénìí? Ìtàmúwá náà ni pé ọ̀rọ̀ Yorùbá nation náà la mú wá. Ọ̀rọ̀ Yorùbá nation torí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ọmọ Yorùbá àgbọ́yé ni pé a fẹ́ kúrò ní Nàìjíríà but kí ni reasons tẹ́ ṣe ní ẹ fẹ́ kúrò? Ṣé reason yẹn link mọ́ Bọ́lá Tinubu torí àwọn kan ní àfẹ́ràn Bọ́lá Tinubu la ṣe fẹ́ kúrò? Mo ní mo rò bẹ́ẹ̀. So lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí customer care ti Yahoo gangan lórí Twitter tó dẹ̀ ní 90,000 followers. Ìtọ́sọ ni pé some users may be experiencing issues with the Yahoo mail app. We are investigating and we are update as needed. èmi náà wá sórí ètò láti máa update yín léra nípa ìdí torí pé kò yé yín, kò ń sọ̀rọ̀ ọjà ìyẹn ò mí pa máa bára wa jà, àgbọ́yé ni kò yé mi náà. Koiki kí ló dé tẹ́ ṣe fẹ́ kúrò ní Nàìjíríà? Gbogbo wa ti jọ gbé for thousands of years, kò pé thousand o, má ẹ̀kọ́ parọ́ fún ẹ. Gbogbo existence pé Nàìjíríà exist as a country kò tí ì pé 200 years. Tó bá lọ sínú ìdílé tọ̀dọ̀ tiẹ̀, wàá rí pé bàbá kan wà níbẹ̀, wọ́n á ní bàbá yẹn dàgbà, nígbà tó dàgbà títí ó pé 100 years. Tó bá tún sọ pé bàbá kan náà ló bí bàbá yẹn náà pé 100 years, ó di 200. So báwo wá ní existence Nàìjíríà ṣe fẹ́ ju generation bàbá ẹ lọ? Ìdí tí a ṣe gbọ́dọ̀ ṣàlàyé fún yín pé ọ̀rọ̀ Nàìjíríà is a creation. What created ni is an entity block tí ó change identity àwọn ọmọ Yorùbá kúrò níbi tó yẹ kó wà. Àwa la nílẹ̀, torí ilẹ̀ tẹ́ ń tẹ̀, ilẹ̀ yẹn tó ń pè ní south west, àwa la níbẹ̀ yẹn, but orúkọ yẹn gangan ló ń fún wa ní problem. Ilẹ̀ wa ò fún wa ní problem. Mo rí pásítọ̀ kan, ó ní wọ́n á jókòó sí ìlú òyìnbó, wọ́n á máa pé zoo, ó ní ilé tèmi ò kí ń ṣe zoo. Bàbá a sọ pé lẹ́yìn ní zoo. Nàìjíríà orúkọ yẹn ní zoo, torí pé tí bá travel nísìn, tí bá ti ń lọ, tí bá ti lè kúrò, tí mo kúrò ní airport bíbà tó respect mi, torí ìlú mi tí bá dé, tí bá ti ná Nigerian passport sí wọn, wọ́n wá wò báyìí. What do you say your name is? OLAYOMI KOIKI. Where are you coming from? I'm just passing by. Stop over. I'm on my way to Turkey. I'm on my way to Dubai. How long are you spending? Just 10 days. Okay. Have you been here before? Oh yeah, a few times. It was a great place. I thought I should just come back. Ṣorí àwọn ìbéèrè yẹn, factor pé passport tí mo gbé dání yẹn gangan òun ló fi ń wò mí. Ìjọ́ tá bá ti lè gbé passport yẹn, tá kíkẹ̀, tá jù sínú bin. Bin lélẹ́yìí, bin. Ẹyin tí mo o máa ń jẹ ẹyin. Ẹyin tí mo ṣe jẹ tán ni. Bin ni. Ìjọ́ tá bá ti lè ju Nàìjíríà yẹn, orúkọ yẹn, tá trash ẹ̀. Tá wá bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ń lo identity tiwa, ó wá kù síjọba ilẹ̀ Yorùbá tíjọ́ náà lọ́hùn tí kò gbọdọ̀ pẹ́ mọ́. Ìjọba yẹn ló máa wá ní relationship tó máa dúró dáadáa débi pé tó bá gbé passport ẹ̀ dání, wọ́n bí ọmọ Amẹ́ríkà kankan kó disrespect wọn náà. Lọ gbé American passport dání, béèrè lọ́wọ́ àwọn tó ní lọ́wọ́, ẹ béèrè lọ́wọ́ Al-Maruf, mo mọ̀ pé Al-Maruf ẹ̀gbọ́n mi ní American passport. Lọ béèrè lọ́wọ́ Prophet Ológun Olúwa, àwọn ní American passport. Àbí kó béèrè lọ́wọ́ àwọn tó ń fi British passport travel. Wàá wá rí i pé ìyàtọ̀ máa ń wà tẹ́ bá jọ jókòó sórí plane. Àwọn máa ń ní confidence ìlú pé ìlú táwọn ti ń bọ̀ yẹn wọ́n bí bàbá ńlá immigration dá kó disrespect wọn. Ìdí títí wọ́n ò ṣe ní respect òun ni pé wọ́n ti rí ìlú yẹn gẹ́gẹ́ bí a corrupt country. Ó ti wá corrupt gbogbo wa náà, even though pé gbogbo wa kọ́ ni corruption. Ìyẹn làwọn pásítọ̀ máa sọ pé Ọlọ́run abẹ́ kó forí jì wá àti ṣẹ̀. Àwọn wo lọ́jọ́ ṣẹ̀? Ẹ béèrè lọ́wọ́ àwọn pásítọ̀ pé àwọn wo. Torí pé tí system Nàìjíríà bá ń ṣiṣẹ́, tí ó respect human right, tó respect the value for life. Wọ́n ṣe pè mí nísìn, wọ́n ní bàbá kan kú sínú ilé ní Kòròdú for 3 weeks. Kò dẹ̀ sẹ́ni kankan tó mọ̀ pé bàbá yẹn kú síbẹ̀ àfìgbà tí òórùn bonú ilé. Ẹni tó pè mí láti ìlú kan ló ti pè mí, Mr. Koiki, ó ti ṣẹlẹ̀ ọ́, àtẹ̀wá mọ bàbá òun gan self torí pé àmọ́ mẹ̀lẹ́bí ẹ̀ nílẹ̀ Yorùbá. Àná ti wọ one chance. Ní government, nítorí pé government tó ń run kò run on behalf of ọmọ Yorùbá. Lótìtọ́ ọmọ Yorùbá láwọn governor wa, but wọ́n represent wa gẹ́gẹ́ bí ọmọ Yorùbá because èdè Gẹ̀ẹ́sì ló ń sọ, ló fi operate ní gbogbo aláwùsá. Mo kí gbogbo yín tẹ́ jáde fún NLC. Orúkọ mi ni OLAYOMI KOIKI. Mo kí gbogbo alẹ́ nǹkan sí. So tá bá wá ń sọ pé a fẹ́ Yorùbá country, a fẹ́ kúrò nínú Nàìjíríà, orí ilẹ̀ tá wà yẹn sì máa wà níbẹ̀. Àwọn òyìnbó lórí burúkú, àwọn akóromẹ́rò, àwọn ló kó wa mọ́ ìdọ̀tí, ló fi ń pe bíbá ní Nàìjíríà òun lélẹ̀. Tó bá lọ sókè, wàá rí pé Niger là lókè, wàá rí pé Chad wà ní bíbá. Tó bá wá sọ́wọ́ ìsàlẹ̀, wàá rí Benin, wàá rí Togo. Tó bá wá sọ́nà bíbá, wàá rí Abidjan. Tábà ti padà síbi tí a wà nítorí pé 1884 ló ti kọ́kọ́ káàfù gbogbo tó ń pè ní Áfíríkà kò lè yí ẹ nítorí pé bàbá ò ṣàlàyé fún ẹ, Mọ́mísí ò ṣàlàyé fún ẹ, Kóìkì ló lè ṣàlàyé fún ẹ, má ní káwọn mainstream media ṣàlàyé fún ẹ. Ọ̀rọ̀ Nàìjíríà ò lè work, àwa àti Nàìjíríà ó ti kú. Ẹ jẹ́ ká padà síbi tó orísun wa wà, ká gba ibi tó ń pè ní identity wa. Tábà ti gba identity wa, then we can start deliberating a lot of issues. Policies tá a máa fi sílẹ̀ débi pé ó kọ́kọ́ gbọ́dọ̀ value ọmọ ìlú yìí tó ń pè lọ́mọ Yorùbá. Ó lè gbé British passport dání kó má mọ̀ pé ó gbé British passport dání. Wọ́n bí bàbá ńlá immigration náà dá tó bá gbé British passport dání kó sọ fún ẹ pé passport tó gbé dání yẹn fake ni. Torí wọ́n mọ̀ pé kò gbọ́dọ̀ jẹ́ fake nítorí pé identity ti ẹ̀ gangan ló gbé dání yẹn. Identity tá a gbé dání ò kì í ṣe tiwa. We are not Nigerians. Gbogbo ọ̀rọ̀ tó pa fún wa, it is a lie. British ló parọ́ yẹn. Àwọn gangan ló gbérò kalẹ̀ sí gbogbo Nàìjíríà tó sọ fún wa pé ká máa jẹ́ Nàìjíríà. It is the British factor. Nigeria is an entity. Entity ní Nigeria. So I pity a lot of you. Ẹ fẹ́ kú nítorí Nigeria. You will die just like so many generations have died. Let us ask àwọn olóṣèlú wa pé kí ni reason tó ṣe ń sọ pé ká keep Nigeria? Ẹ kọ́kọ́ béèrè lọ́wọ́ àwọn olóṣèlú. Ẹ jẹ́ á fi àwọn ọba sílẹ̀. Ẹ jẹ́ á béèrè lọ́wọ́ àwọn olóṣèlú wa, àwọn representative pé what is the reason behind telling us to hold on to that shit old country called Nigeria? Ẹlòmíà ni you cannot stay abroad and be calling Nigeria shit old. British created the shit old, and that is what you need to understand. British created in 1914 amalgamation. Ó dẹ̀ ti expire. We are not Nigerians. Ọmọ Yorùbá ni wá, identity wa là ń béèrè fún. Ọmọ Yorùbá kan wá dìde, ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ wá ń bàjà. Ẹgbọ́n tí Fáyọ̀ṣe sọ.
Whatever you have said, you see, it's not ignorable in the circumstance that we have found ourselves. It cannot be used positively to make peace, rather than condemn him, ask him to go, they should arrest him and put him behind bars. That's not the story now. A situation we have found ourselves calls for everyone to come to round table and appeal to their people. Sunday Igboho might not be the best of persons, but the fact remains, when crisis, when they come from the lower cadre people in the society, and they're the ones that can talk to their people. The big men stay in their house, send people out to go and resolve it.
Okay.
My appeal is that Sunday Igboho, no matter how stupid or how you perceived him,
okay,
he must be brought and be used positively,
okay,
in the resolution of this crisis.
So what is the crisis? Everybody knows that there's a crisis in Nigeria, but we are running away from the true crisis and we are running for something that will not work. The whole structure of Nigeria is sitting on a keg of gunpowder. Everybody knows that. But the problem is, when should we start deliberating? When should we draw the line? When should we say enough is enough? Many of you continue to say that we should prepare for 2027. Nobody should be preparing for 2027. What we should be deliberating on is, what is the way forward? What is the option on the table? Is the option, is the restructure? Is the option for us to leave Nigeria? But the future of Nigeria is no longer workable for we, the Yoruba people, and it is right now that we pull out so that your life can have a meaningful identity. If not, Ijo to ba ku, you will be dying with a fake identity. One of the biggest threats in Louis, if you are carrying a fake identity, most of people must resolve problem on Japalano. They have what they call identity crisis. I don't have to go into all the details. Nígbà tó pè mí, tó ṣe analysis gbogbo problem yẹn, what I saw there was there is already an identity problem between into provide àti into sọ lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́. Mo ní ìyẹn lẹ kọ́kọ́ gbọ́dọ̀ lọ rectify. Tá a bá rectify problem yẹn, we would die just as an ordinary Nigerian, knowing fully well that we lost who we are because of the fraudulent British amalgamation. The British amalgamated Nigeria for their own entity. Nigeria is a corporate entity for the British government, and the British knew that. They knew that the Yoruba people were much more intelligent because Warren Baba Olowo Kotologbe fún àwọn Northerners in 1960. And that was during the Lancaster House deliberation. But we now see our scholars. We see those that we should expect to start talking about this. That the only option, Every one of them knows that the true meaning of Nigeria is not what we are told. It is a lie. And until we all ask the question, are we Nigerians? In Nigeria, let's first listen to this again.
We have problems in the land. And the problems, I want to say this, I might be off the cuff, is because of our constitution.
Okay.
Also, Nigeria is not operating any constitution known to honesty, entrenched in group faith, brought about by unanimity of the people, acceptable to federalism. And again, that is also, we also have that problem in the judiciary because of the Nigerian situation. We have a unitary system. That's what we run. Hydra-headed. Don't let us pretend. And I've said it over and over. And I'll continue to say it. And that's unitarism has also created into the judiciary. Today, the entire Nigerian judiciary is unitarized. The Supreme Court is federal, Federal Court of Appeal, the Court of Appeal is federal, Federal High Court is federal, FCT is federal, National Industrial Court is federal, Customary Court of Appeal of the Federal High Court is federal, Sharia Court of Appeal of the Federal High Court is federal, all jurisdictions. That the Coyote Trust of this world, that the Opitas of this world, that the Bellows of this world, when they wind their respective high courts exercised, making the law to be profound, succulent, rich, exciting, they are now vested in the different federal high court or federal courts.
Okay.
We're talking of how to reform the system.
Okay.
There is no justification in a state, in a nation like Nigeria, purporting to practice federalism, where even the Supreme Court to be overburdened with unnecessary jurisdiction in respect of land matters from Yoruba land, respect of divorce, respect of family matters, secrecy matters.
Okay.
How do they know? I don't want us to be deceiving ourselves.
Okay.
Assuming I'm even appointed to the Supreme Court today, I'm above the age, but assuming, and I'm sitting there, and you bring a matter on appeal in respect of Kanuri native law and custom, or Igbo native law and custom, or Igbo land tenure system, and I sit there and I'm writing judgment. I'm a Yoruba man. What do I know about that? That those kind of cases to stop at the state, either Court of Appeal or Supreme Court. Go to the United States of America. Each state has its own Supreme Court. We are running into trouble. We are action there. And time is not in our favor. And I'm not tickled by what the National Assembly is doing. They are not being fair to themselves. They are not being fair to us. They claim to be amending the Constitution. What are they amending?
What are they amending?
And I want to repeat it. You amend something that is not amendable. When you want to amend the Constitution, by the way, Lati, where do you start?
With the people.
You start from the preamble. With the people. Oh, yes. They have to amend it. Why are they running away from it? If they cannot amend the preamble, if the preamble is not amendable, then it means the Constitution is not amendable. Come on. They have to start from it. You start reading your letter from the back page. Do you? No, they have to start from the preamble. That means the preamble is fake. We the people. Who are the we? When did we meet? And why can't we do it? I study the constitutions of the world. And I say this also with every sense of humility. There's no constitution that is near as fake, near as deceitful, near as make-believe in nature and in content as the constitution, as what we call the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended.
Now, the question we should ask ourselves is, for how long are we going to be listening to all these rhetorics? For how long do we continue to be deceived by those that are meant to speak and say that Nigeria is just an entity, is a corporate body? And what do we mean by a corporate entity? We've checked that before, and we're going to be looking at that again this morning, or rather this afternoon. Corporate entity. When we look at the meaning of a corporate entity, does Nigeria gives us every reason to say that Nigeria is a corporate entity? Is Nigeria a corporate entity, or are we just making it up? When we look at the English dictionary, when we look at the meaning of the corporate entity, we've talked about the Constitution. The Constitution definitely doesn't represent myself and you. The lawmakers from the House of Chamber to the lower chamber to the local one in our state, which is called the House of Assembly, to the senators, to the green chamber and the red chamber. Everybody knows that they are operating on a fraudulent constitution. Oh, maybe we should just confirm, because I don't want to say that they are operating on a fraudulent constitution, but maybe there's somebody else that can explain. Let's listen to this again.
President Tinubu needs to put his best foot forward to govern the country. If he does that, in 4 years, he can turn things around. Okay. But there are certain critical things he would need to do. Okay. The first thing is to say, what's the constitution? If, for instance, me and my wife Lillian don't agree in our marriage of 45 years, then we can't do anything. So the first thing that President Tinubu would need to do is to ensure that Nigerians all agree to be one country. Okay. You recall that Bolage asked those two questions. Do we want to be one? It's not by force.
Do we want to be one? It's not by force. But if we are going to be one, what should we be talking about? What should we be deliberating? Should we be deliberating something that doesn't favor the Yoruba people because we want to satisfy the rest of the ethnic groups? Let's listen. If we are going to be one, how?
Be one, how?
How?
We haven't answered those questions.
Now we are asking those questions. People are now questioning our own integrity for asking questions of what the British created that doesn't represent us. Even if we have lived together for the last 64 years, as some of you have claimed, which is about 6 decades, that we have lived in an independent country, even though an argument also is there that we are never independent, because the corporation of Nigeria is operating from outside. You might want to check with the IMF and the World Bank. So when some of us are now saying that, what is now the benefit? What benefit me? Is Nigeria benefiting me as a Yoruba man? Is the question you should ask yourself. Is Yoruba benefiting from Nigeria? Maybe some. We don't have to mention their names, but when you look to the left, you look to the right, you can see that people get this, and then eventually they become a billionaire, and they become a philanthropist that Bola Tinubu then invite to come and have meeting with, just like the previous president. The question is Nigeria representing me as a true Yoruba man? First and foremost, it doesn't represent me because I am carrying a fake identity known as the Nigerian passport. That is number one. The question again is Nigeria a corporate entity? Nigeria has always been a corporate entity, but most of us were not told that. We were told that let us work to fix Nigeria, knowing fully well that you cannot fix Nigeria because Abacha took $5 billion and deposited it in Switzerland. Is Switzerland representing me? I cannot even apply for a visa to go to Switzerland, yet a stolen $5 billion of Nigerian money was deposited there. Nigeria deals with over 37 countries that buy their crude oil, according to the historical data of 2021. Yet, you will not have access. The question then is, should we renegotiate Nigeria by pulling out, become a true Yoruba nation, a Yoruba identity, and then we can have a mutual agreement, a new MOU between these countries that would truly represent me, and I would decide whether I want to live in UK or I want to remain in the Yoruba territory. Corporate entity. In such context, corporate entity means any business organization. Nigeria has always been a business organization. The first thing is the Constitution of Nigeria does not truly represent you, neither does it represent none of us. But àwọn Yorùbá lè ní sọ fún mi pé, shut up, Mr. Koiki. Keep yourself to UK. Operate yourself in UK, but leave us alone. I cannot leave it alone because UK created the mess, and either they solve the mess out or we would have to do what needs to be done, either through the peaceful means or there will be a war. I have said it, I have no doubt in my mind. It is either that or peace. And if we refuse to have peace, we will destroy every damn thing that destroy a delay so that nobody enjoys it anyhow. But we don't have to go through that because we can dissolve Nigeria without violence. but that chances is very, very slim. Kódà inti Ifá sọ ni pé ẹ máa jà kúrò nínú Nàìjíríà ni. But most of you don't want to listen to that. Kódà ẹ lọ gbọ́ àwọn wòlíì Ọlọ́run láti bàbá wa Prophet Nasirullah, láti Prophet Adébáyọ̀. Kódà gbogbo àwọn wòlíì gidi sọ pé tí ẹ bá jà ẹ ní kúrò nínú oko ẹrú tẹ́ wà. Inú oko ẹrú lẹ máa wà tí ẹ máa kú sí. And I don't want to die in there because àwọn generation kan ti kú lórí ẹ̀. In a such context, a corporate entity means business organization. Nigeria is a business empire. So when you talk about the Fulani terrorists operating in Nigeria is another method to keep us below the par. When we deal with the real issue, we can flush out those that are giving us headache. But many of you don't want to listen. But Egono, because we will tell you the benefit of Tabakuro. Let's go back and listen to the fraudulent constitution. My name is OLAYOMI Koiki, and welcome to the afternoon broadcast.
Told President Akpabio of the Senate.
Okay,
has taken 20.
Listen there. When some of us say that Akpabio is a criminal, even Oyo State Governor, Engineer Seyi Makinde, came out and said to Akpabio, can you prove to me that you sent 30 billion naira to Oyo State? I am not talking about any other state, but I can talk as the governor of the governor forum. Akpabio came out just some few days ago and say, no, we never sent 30 billion. These are the criminals that you are thinking that will allow Nigeria to dissolve. That is why they are operating as a business entity. It's a business corporation. So Akpabio is representing the IMF, the World Bank, and all the criminals around the world that have used Nigeria to tell us that we should remain Nigerians, carry the fake shit-o passport that doesn't even take you to South Africa. Do you know that the Nigerian passport does not take you to South Africa? That is how shit-o the passport is. But it's a fake identity because that is what Buhari Olori Buruku has used to collect billions and billions of naira that it will take another 50 years, according to Fayose, before we can resolve that. I'm going to let you know that in just about a few minutes. But let us first go back again. What will be the benefit if we pull out of Nigeria? Say, Yama Jewa, Mr. Koike, be my power? No, Ebi on the power. Ebi on the power. Because we have what it takes in the whole of Oyo. Maybe Montonpe ni Oyo. Odindi Oyo is one of the biggest when it comes to, the city. But many of you are waiting for the Northerners to continue to feed us. We don't need the Northerners to feed us. What they've done is they've used terrorism to kill the corporation of the business in Yoruba land. But they have now kept their own self on the other side and become very powerful. Let's go back again and listen.
Years to solve the problem of the Constitution. And I urged him, in conjunction with President Tinubu, to resolve the Nigerian constitutional question now by inviting the owners of Nigeria. The owners of Nigeria.
Who are the owners of Nigeria? Who are the owners of Nigeria? The Yoruba are part of the owners that was created. The Hausas, the Igbos. All of a sudden now, we are hearing another ethnic group that is now overshadowing every one of us. Mayati Allah was set up in 1976. 17 years it took Mayati Allah to start operating as an association representing the interest of the Mayati Allah after Babangida came to power. 17 years. But today, they've become so powerful because of the corrupt entity called Nigeria. So when we talk about the real owners of Nigeria, let's listen and hear what he has to say on who are the true owners of Nigeria. Today is the 27th day of the month of February. My name is OLAYOMI Koiki, and this is a self-determination platform that believes that the indigenous people of the Yorubas, currently residing somewhere in Nigeria, southwest in Africa, are no longer interested in what was being the creation of Nigeria, known as the fraudulent 1914 amalgamation on the 1st of January 1914. It has literally 110 years as we speak, just some few months back. Let's go back again.
Mark you, were those who owned Nigeria before Lugard brought his.
Those who own Nigeria before Lugard, the criminal Lugard working on behalf of the British Empire, the colony. Because some of you don't even know that Lugard was operating on what he was told to do. Lugard was not born in UK, but because his parents are from Britain, he was born in India. He served in Hong Kong. He was a military guy until he was brought to Nigeria to represent the British interest. Lugard and the girlfriend decided to amalgamate Nigeria in 1914 for best interest known to them, but none to us, because we were not aware of that. Even if we were aware of that, it was by gun and bullet on our head to accept the amalgamation. We are now saying that we don't want this anymore. Some of my Yoruba colleagues, some of my Yorubas now say to me, oh no, just let us continue to get the restructure Nigeria. You don't need a restructure Nigeria. We pull out, just like so many other countries have pulled out of Nigeria. That does not mean that we will hate the other ethnic indigenous people. It will just mean that we will be able to respect each other and work at our own pace, just as we saw the cocoa house in Ibadan standing. Have you not thought about how many cocoa houses will have represented the whole of Southwest if we have operated the way it has always been? You cannot get a regional government from President Bola Tinubu. So if any of you are waiting that President Bola Tinubu will give us a regional government, President Bola Tinubu will complete his tenure and hand over power, which is part of their policy, back to the Northerners so that they can operate, while most of us will continue to live in abject poverty and with a fake identity.
Amalgamation in 1914. Call them in. These are the people who own the country. And
why is this amalgamation very, very important? Why do we talk about the 1914 amalgamation? Let's do a brief quickly about the 1914 amalgamation. What do we know by the 1914 amalgamation? You want something? What was it? Eh? It's one chicken. You want one of the chicken? The 1914 amalgamation. What do we know by it? Where's the chicken? Eh? In the fridge. Okay, 1 minute. The 1914 amalgamation. Bear with me because I need to move things around because my son just came back. And that means I have to do some structural adjustment. All right, what we're going to do, bear with me. Let me serve it for me. So let's continue to listen to that while I move things around so that my son can do what he needs to do without disturbing them. Let's continue.
Some questions. What do you want to see of the Constitution? Because without a Constitution, we're going nowhere.
Okay.
And no one will doubt the fact that the Constitution bequeathed by the military in 1999 is unsatisfactory. You can't build anything out of a weak foundation.
Okay.
The economic development policy of President Tinubu, the political development policy of President Tinubu, and everything else he wants to do rests on a very solid foundation. So let him immediately resolve that.
Okay.
How can we spend 23 years looking for?
I'm the one that switched the camera off for the time being, so there's nothing wrong. I just decided to turn the camera off just temporarily. It will come back in a minute. Let's continue.
For building a house. Does that make sense to anybody?
Okay.
So that's my number one issue. We need to resolve this issue of, do we want to be one?
Do we want to be one?
And Matthew, the flip side of the question is that,
do we want to be one? Is the question. That question has not yet been answered. Do we want to be one? Do we want to be one? Or are we not saying, do we want to be one? Nobody has answered that question. If we're going to be one, how do we become one? How? Do we want to be one? The camera will come back on, but for now, the camera is turned off because of the work behind the scene. Let's listen more again.
because those 6 countries under Marshal Tito, when he died, decided to break apart.
Okay,
today, a lot of
did you hear that? Yugoslavia, country to travel already. Yugoslavia was a country in the southeast and the central Europe that existed. Just like Nigeria is existing. 1918, 4 years before tí wọ́n amalgamate Nigeria náà máa end níjọ́ tó bá ti end la máa kápẹ̀. Nigeria existed from 1914 up to 2024. We can shut down the Nigeria today, but that is subject to tí gbogbo wa bá sọ pé I agree. Tá a bá lè agree in one uniform, in one voice, tíyàn kan sì sọ pé a fẹ́ restructure, kan sọ pé a fẹ́ regional government, tí gbogbo wa ò dúró sójú kan, then ó máa drag, but ìjọ kan wà, the end of Nigeria is getting close. Whether you like it or not, gbogbo tí wọ́n bá máa sọ fún ẹ nínú ní mọ́ṣáláṣí Nigeria máa end, because alàgbà tó ń sọ̀rọ̀ yìí ó jẹ́ kó yé wa pé Yugoslavia ìlú kan náà lòun tẹ́lẹ̀ ní 1918 títí dé 1992 ní ìparí ẹ̀, just a year before tí Abiola náà fẹ́ ṣe election ní 1993. You don't. Mo kí gbogbo alẹ́ nǹkan sí. We turn the camera back on as the work has now been completed. Ẹ má bínú, I have to turn the camera. And the camera ọ̀rọ̀ wà. Àìtí dáhùn ìbéèrè yẹn àìtí dáhùn ẹ̀. Kí ni ìbéèrè náà? Do we want to be one? And if we're going to be one, ọ̀nà wo la fẹ́ fi jẹ́ ẹyọ kan? Ọ̀nà bí a ṣe ń tọ́ nísìnyí la ṣe fẹ́ jẹ́ ẹyọ kan. Do we want to be one? We need to ask that question. A ní láti béèrè ìbéèrè yẹn, ṣé a fẹ́ jẹ́ ẹyọ kan àbí a fẹ́ jẹ́ ẹyọ kan? It is a question that needs to be answered. Kí ló dé tá à ń sá fún question yẹn? Kí ló dé táwọn olóṣèlú ò fẹ́ jẹ́ ká béèrè ìbéèrè yẹn? Gọ́gán Ṣèyí Mákindé, ẹ béèrè lọ́wọ́ mi, ṣá fẹ́ jẹ́ ẹyọ kan? Ẹ lè máa sọ fún wa pé ká lọ máa dìbò PDP. No more volume kẹ̀. Lórí Instagram. Bí a kẹ wọlé kẹ jáde, no sound, Mr. Koiki. Oh my Lord, kí ló ṣẹlẹ̀ kẹ̀? Mo ò dẹ̀ pa ilé náà, àpapọ̀ kámẹ́rà lásán ni. Oh, okay, ẹ má bínú mi, mo fọwọ́ mute ẹ má bínú. Ìyá mi, beauty àmọ̀ kò ṣe sound yẹn ti padà. The sound should be back now. Èmi mo lọ mute ẹ má bínú, ibi tí mo ti fi tan kámẹ́rà yẹn padà ni. Ìbéèrè tó jẹ́ kó béèrè lọ gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá lénìí, kò ń ṣe lọ́la, pé ṣàfẹ́ jẹ́ ẹyọ kan nínú Nàìjíríà. It's just a simple yes or no. Ẹ ṣé gan ni sir, ẹ ṣé gan ni ma, ẹ tẹ́ wà lórí program. Mo ń béèrè lọ́wọ́ gbogbo wa, do we want to be one? Ṣé a fẹ́ jẹ́ ẹyọ kan? Do we want to be one? Tá bá dẹ̀ fẹ́ jẹ́ ẹyọ kan, ọ̀nà wo la fẹ́ fi gbà jẹ́ ẹyọ kan? Is it on the... We see people that are ọ̀nà àti kọ thesis. Ṣé thesis lè máa ń kọ èyí tẹ́ ṣe PhD? Ẹni tó kọ PhD, ẹni tó ṣe masters. Ìbéèrè ní ká bá wa béèrè ni pé ṣé a fẹ́ jẹ́ ẹyọ kan? Tá bá máa jẹ́ ẹyọ kan, ọ̀nà wo? Ṣé ọ̀nà tó ń lò lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ nísìn tí àwa kọ́ la lo constitution, àwa kọ́ la kọ́, but constitution sọ pé we the people. We are not the one that wrote the Constitution. The Constitution is part of what I said earlier, that Nigeria is a corporate entity. Because in tọ́kọ́kọ́ máa ṣe ni pé wọ́n lo Constitution láti fi lock wa mọ́lẹ̀. So tó bá ṣẹ̀ nísìn gẹ́gẹ́ bí mẹ̀kúnnù, Constitution tó máa lò fún ẹ̀kọ́, òun kọ́ ló ń lò fún àwọn olóṣèlú yẹn. Ẹ ṣáà jẹ́ kí n má ṣe pé fún wọn léde, ẹ yà fi wọ́n sílẹ̀. But wọ́n ní a lè máa fún wọn lépè. Prophet Nasiru láì sọ bẹ́ẹ̀, but ó wà nínú Bible pé o lè ṣépè fún wọn. Àwọn èèyàn dáhùn, mo ní ṣé a fẹ́ jẹ́ ẹyọ kan ẹ̀ dáhùn, because at the end of the day purpose a fi ń ṣe program ni pé kẹ́yìn náà máa respond. Ṣé o fẹ́ jẹ́ ọmọ Nàìjíríà àbó òṣè mọ́? Tó bá dẹ̀ fẹ́ jẹ́ ọmọ Nàìjíríà, on what terms and conditions? Ṣé lórí ìtàn ń lò lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ nísìn? Do we want to be one? Ìyẹn kan péré ló dá wa lóhùn. Ìyá wa Fúnmiláyọ̀ nìkan ló sọ̀rọ̀ ní gbogbo ní program tí mo ń ṣe nísìn pé capital no, Yorùbá nation la fẹ́, àwọn tó kù fẹ́ Nàìjíríà. It's right yín ni pé kẹ́ fẹ́ Nàìjíríà, but ìbéèrè yẹn ẹ jẹ́ káwọn àwọn olóṣèlú wa tán náà àwọn represent wa, gbogbo àwọn senator wa láti Gbénga Daniel, láti Amosun, láti àwọn tó wà nísàlẹ̀, ẹ béèrè lọ́wọ́ wọn. Ìyá wa Ifágbémilékè ní irọ́ ni o, àfẹ́jẹ́ ẹyọkan, àwọn tó kù ní ẹyọkan làwọn fẹ́. Do we want to be one? Because we have tried to run away from this question. Gbogbo tí Fálànà ń ṣe is very good, but the real question ni pé ṣé Nàìjíríà yẹn máa exist because àwọn kan máa gbádùn, àwọn kan ò ní gbádùn, òun lọ̀rọ̀ tó wà nílẹ̀. But why are we living in denial? Why are we not talking about that business corporate entity? Let me repeat it again. What is a corporate entity? According to the information in front of me, in such context, corporate entity, which is in Nigeria, means any business organization, whether incorporated or uncorporated, including partnership, as well as corporation and other organizations. However, in many situations, a corporate entity can mean an incorporated legal entity. So Nigeria, you are thinking that you have an independent country. Literally, you don't have an independent country. What you have is part of the fraud that was created for the special interest of the IMF. IMF is an international monetary fraud. Àwọn ni wọ́n wà ní abẹ́ Africa ni wọ́n jẹ́ Africa gbèrú. How can the whole of Africa have so much resources and yet we are living in an abject poverty? Wọ́n wá máa fún wa ní student. Ó yá ẹgbàá níbẹ̀ yẹn. That is what they are doing. Let me give you an example. This is a bread. This is a loaf of bread. Nigerians today think that everybody will eat part of this loaf of bread. No. You will not live to enjoy a full loaf of bread. But what you will get, I will explain to us. So this is a loaf of bread. I'm sure everybody see it? Let me bring back my full screen back again as we had it earlier. Can everybody see it? Can everybody see the bread? Let's bring back my full open blank screen again. Can everybody see this? This is a loaf of bread. Okay? This is a loaf of bread. Ìdílé bí ṣe ń pa gbogbo wa lẹ́ni kò jú pé loaf of bread yìí ló jẹ́ kémi àti ẹjọ́ máa jẹ lẹ́yọ kọ̀ọ̀kan. Ó yá èmi ti mú tèmi báyìí. Ìwọ náà máa mú tiẹ̀. Ìwọ náà máa mú tiẹ̀. Bó ṣe jẹ́ kó rí nílẹ̀ Yorùbá nìyẹn. But lẹ́ni nísìn. This is what Tony kí wá lọ pín. Because of the corporate entity. Àwọn olówó wá gbé sẹ́yìn báyìí. Tinubu wá pè wọ́n sí Aso Rock. I saw Tinubu calling them to Aso Rock. Nijeta, Abi, Mori Dangote, Tony Elemelu, and the rest of them. Tinubu wá ń bèrè pé kí ló dé tẹ̀yin máa ní owó tó pọ̀ tẹ́bí ń para ìlú. Nigeria ló sponsor Dangote refinery. Nigeria ló sponsor Tony Elemelu. Nigeria, don't come here again. Just leave it. Nigeria ló sponsor gbogbo wọn. So kí ló dé tí ebi ń pa wá, because it's not about pé nìkan tí a lè jẹ. Ìta lè jẹ pọ̀. Ọbẹ̀ Elédùmarè fún wa lóúnjẹ. Ó fún wa ní weather tó lè provide oúnjẹ fún wa. Ó fún wa ní human power. Ó fún wa ní gbogbo resources. Àmọ́ àwa kọ́ là ń control resources yẹn. Olówó wá gbé búrẹ́dì síwájú báyìí. Àwọn gbé sẹ́yìn. Àwọn gbé búrẹ́dì sẹ́yìn. Wọ́n wá ní Koiki, ìwọ àtàwọn ẹ̀yà ẹjọ́ máa pélé jẹ. Àwa jọ ń pélé jẹ. Mo wá ń bèrè pé níjọ́ wo ni ebi yẹn máa wá ní ebi yẹn ò ní pa wá. Ẹ gbọ́rọ̀ mi. Búrẹ́dì ló yẹ kí gbogbo àjọ pín lẹ́yọ kọ̀ọ̀kan kọ́ fún ọ ní loaf kan kí wọn náà máa gbé tiẹ̀ báyìí. Wọ́n wá ní no. Má lo loaf of bread. Ìwọ kò gba slice ẹyọ kan. Wọ́n wá ní kí gbogbo wa lọ pín slice ẹyọ kan. Slice yẹn la wá jọ ń pín àwa ẹ̀yà tí ó ń bẹ nínú Nàìjíríà tó ń lọ sí over 350 or 250 ethnic groups. Àwa ń pín lè jẹ láti 1960. Nínú ẹ̀ náà, àwọn kan tí wọ́n tún ń jẹ jù wá lọ nínú ẹ̀. So eléyìí nísìn àti gbé sẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ báyìí torí pé kí ni àwọn tó jẹ́ alágbára nínú Nàìjíríà tó ń ṣiṣẹ́ fáwọn oníṣẹ́ ibi láti port authority, láti custom, láti gbogbo tó ń pè ní Nàìjíríà lẹ́nìí. Àwọn gbé nǹkan tó da sọ́wọ́. Wọ́n wá ní kémi àti yín kájọ máa lọ pín lè jẹ. Tó bá tún wá wò nísìn, wọ́n tún wá ṣe kí ni? Gorí. Àwọn tún wá ń yọ nínú ẹ̀. Wọ́n yọ nínú ẹ̀. Wọ́n wá ní ẹjọ́ máa lọ pín jẹ, ẹ lọ máa pín jẹ. Àwa jọ ń pín lè jẹ, àwa jọ ń pín jẹ, àwa ń pín jẹ. Ó wá ti wà báyìí nísìn. Ó wá ku alágbára ló ń jẹun ta. Tó o bá ní agbára, o lè jẹun ta. Tó o bá súnmọ́ wọn dáadáa, o ní lè jẹun ta. Eléyìí ló wá ní kí èmi àti lọ máa pín báyìí. Ìta ìjọ ń pín jẹ nísìn. This is what we are eating from Nigeria. And when we are asking those that are Yoruba people pé ṣé eléyìí tẹ́ yín lọ́rùn, wọ́n ní Koiki ó tẹ́ mi lọ́rùn, at least tí bá ti dìbò ọdún mẹ́rin, tí bá ti gbẹ eléyìí jẹ. Wọ́n ní eléyìí ò tẹ́ mi lọ́rùn, ẹ jẹ́ ká jọ gbé yẹ̀ wò. Wọ́n ní no, ó tẹ́ mi lọ́rùn nítorí pé kí ni mo sì lè fọwọ́ sínú ẹ̀ láti lè tún yọ láti òkè níbí ìbà. Mo wá ní ó ṣe wò ó pé kájọ gba ilé ṣé eléyìí àti eléyìí ṣé yàtọ̀ ni. You can see the difference. You can see the massive ìyàtọ̀ tó wà níbẹ̀. Eléyìí ló ní kájọ máa pín jẹ, instead kó jẹ kájọ máa jẹ eléyìí, ká wá tún wá nǹkan tó dáa ká gbélé lórí ló ń pè ní irú nǹkan báyìí. Mo wá ń béèrè lọ́wọ́ gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá lénìí. Èwo nú ẹ̀ lẹ fẹ́? Ṣé fẹ́ pín eléyìí jẹ àbí kájọ jẹ eléyìí ní odindi tí ayé wa máa rọrùn? This is why we are saying the benefit. The benefit of Yoruba nation ni pé a fẹ́ pín lè jẹ mọ́ pẹ̀lú àwọn tí wọ́n ti kó wa sínú wàhálà. And we are being like that. Wọ́n wá kó ìtókù sílẹ̀ lẹ̀, the remnants tó wà nílẹ̀ lẹ̀ yìí, àti wá ń tún yẹn jẹ, àti wá àjọ wá ń wá jẹ, àwájọ ń dùn jẹ. Àwọn kan tó wá di eléyìí mú lókè. Àwọn kan di eléyìí mú lókè. Èyí tó wá dà sílẹ̀ lẹ̀ tí mo ṣàyí, òun ni àwọn kan wá ń di pé àwọn wá ń jẹ lénìí lébi fi pa wá. Kò ń sọ̀rọ̀ Fúlàní, is our identity tó ti gbà lọ́wọ́ wa. Àwọn òyìnbó mọ̀ pé identity yẹn gangan òun ló máa gbé ògo Yorùbá ga. Wọ́n wá gba identity yẹn, wọ́n gbé labúlabú àbí wọ́n gbélé wa lọ́wọ́. And for the last 60 years plus, we have struggled as people. We have struggled to survive. Ó wá kó ẹni rí bá yọ, ẹni bá sá, ó survive. Níwọ̀n bá díẹ̀, ẹ̀yin tẹ́ wà nílé, ẹ wá ń struggle. What is the benefit of Nigeria? Kí ni benefit ẹ̀? Let's go back and listen to the final part from this man.
Very strong countries, Macedonia, Croatia, Slovenia.
We are not going to be the first country to break away, and we will not be the last. Let me take us to the 1914 amalgamation to start with. In 1914, Southern Nigeria was joined with the Northern Nigeria Protectorate to form the single colony of what is known as Nigeria today. The unification was done for economic reasons, and the colonial administration sought to use budget surplus in the southern Nigeria to offset the deficit. Ìtọ́ ṣe ni pé àwọn Northern Protectorate ìjọ náà lọ́hùn tá à ń pè ní ilẹ̀ Haúsá lénìí, àwọn ò ní èrè kankan tí UK àwọn colony ìjọ náà lọ́hùn, UK ni wọ́n ń pè ní colony. Àwọn máa ń jagun gbalẹ̀ káàkiri ni. For 200 years, they were stealing land from different parts of the world. Wọ́n wá rí pé àwọn lose owó, won't make any benefit from the northern side of Nigeria. Wọ́n wá decide pé rather than using their own money, owó táwọn tó ní níwọ̀nba tó ń jí káàkiri, owó tó ń jí káàkiri, owó yẹn wọ́n tún wá gbé owó yẹn lọ sí northern part of Nigeria. Wọ́n ní no, àwọn ò ní lè ṣe yẹn. Torí pé táwọn bá ti ṣe yẹn, deficit máa wà. Wọ́n wá wò pé níbo làwọn ti lè stop blockage yẹn tí àǹfààní máa jáde tí kò ní àwọn lára. Ara tó ní wá lẹ́ni kò ń ṣe pé torí Ọlọ́run bínú sí wa, kò ń ṣe pé torí àṣẹ Ọlọ́run. Gbogbo àwọn nǹkan táwọn pásítọ̀ máa sọ pé àṣẹ Ọlọ́run, àwọn òṣè Ọlọ́run, àṣẹ Elédùmarè. Àwọn òyìnbó ló decide pé kọ́lọ́nì tí àwọn máa jèrè táwọn máa fi kú ni, èrè yẹn làwọn sì ń jẹ. Ìyẹn ni àwa ṣe ń wá jókòó sí ìlú òyìnbó for 24 years nítorí pé a fẹ́ jèrè ìlú yìí náà. Torí pé tó bá ti wà nílùú yìí, tó dẹ̀ ní right láti wà nílùú yìí, o ti ń jèrè ẹ̀ díẹ̀díẹ̀ nìyẹn. In 1914, wọ́n wá ń deliberate pé kí ló dé tá à ń lose owó ní north. Wọ́n ní àwọn northerners wọ́n fáwọn ní owó tó yẹ kó máa fáwọn gẹ́gẹ́ bí ìṣàkọọ́lẹ̀. Àwa ń san tiwa nísàlẹ̀ níbi tá à ń pè ní ilẹ̀ Yorùbá. Àwọn north ò rí tí wọ́n san. Àwọn òyìnbó wá jókòó olè, ìjókòó tó ń pè ní ìjókòó 419 tí exist láti ayé aláyébáyé ni. wọ́n wá jókòó yẹn wọ́n wá decide pé okay kàkà kílẹ̀ kú ilẹ̀ máa ṣá ni ẹ kó wọn papọ̀ sínú ìgò kan náà kọjọ máa sọ èdè kan tó ń pè ní èdè Gẹ̀ẹ́sì in tó fa ìrìn àjò Yorùbá pẹ̀lú Nàìjíríà lénìí nìyẹn, which is what they call the 1914 amalgamation. And that amalgamation must be either broken from the spiritual realm, ó ti pín already, but from the physical side, ẹ̀rù ló wá ń bọ ọmọ Yorùbá nísìn láti béèrè fún ibi tó kù sí ká gbà lọ́wọ́ wọn, either through a means that will be peace or ká lọ prepare pé a máa gbà lọ́wọ́ wọn, because nígbà táwọn náà fẹ́ gbé fún wa, nígbà tó fẹ́ join wa together by force ni wọ́n fi join wa, àwa náà gbọ́dọ̀ yọ by force. Ìyẹn ló ṣe ń sọ pé freedom kì í ṣe tó ń fúnyàn lọ́fẹ̀ẹ́, ó máa gbà á ní pẹ̀lú gbogbo agbára tó bá ní, ó máa gbà á ní, tó bá máa dìjà jẹ́ kó dìjà, ẹ gbà kúrò lọ́wọ́ wọn kí a lè rí ayé gbé, kí o lè rí identity ẹ. Ìyẹn là ń sọ táwọn kan sọ fún wa pé a fẹ́ dógunlẹ̀, because níjọ́ táwọn náà máa amalgamate wa, wọ́n ò béèrè lọ́wọ́ wa, wọ́n ṣe by force ni, àwa náà gbọ́dọ̀ yọra wa kúrò lára Nàìjíríà by force, nítorí pé àwọn tó ń represent corporate entity yẹn, àwọn bí Akpabio, àwọn bí Bọ́lá Tinubu, àwọn bí governor wa, gbogbo wọn, they are part of the crime scene tó ń pè Nàìjíríà. They are all part of the crime scene, and they are not ready to let go. They are not ready to let go. Ibẹ̀ lọ ready láti wà tó máa kú sí. Ìyẹn ló ṣe máa ń ṣe governor tán tó tún máa sá lọ sí senate like Gbenga Daniel olórí burúkú. They are all born bastard. Olè ni wọ́n, like Amosun, like Yayi, and many of them like that. And they become warlord. They become powerful. And they keep every one of us in this fake amalgamation. And many of you today, rather than kájọ gbé yẹ̀wò pé sọ̀rọ̀ tára bí ń sọ ṣó ní ọgbọ́n lórí, ẹ tún wá jẹ́ pé àwa tí nígbà tí wọ́n sọ pé wọ́n pinlẹ̀ Nàìjíríà, ṣé wọ́n ní bàbá mi wà lára àwọn tó jọ pinlẹ̀ Nàìjíríà? Ṣé wọ́n kọ pé bàbá mi wà lára àwọn tó jí owó ní Nàìjíríà? Àwa lẹ wá tún attack. But ní blame yín because more benefit ọjọ́ iwájú tí à ń sọ̀rọ̀ lé lórí. Because if many of you know the benefit, you will run away from that entity block known as a corporate entity tí àwọn òyìnbó create. They created it for themselves. The existence of Nigeria today is not for the benefit of Nigerians. It's for the benefit of the IMF, the World Bank, and the rest of the corporate entity. And all therefore, different entity ni wọ́n. Àwọn entity kan wà, wọ́n mọ tó need. Àwọn entity kan wà, àwọn ni wọ́n create terrorism in Nigeria and Africa. So what they are doing is they are using another entity to destabilize what is known as Africa right inside the Southwest. Ìyẹn la ṣe wá ń complain pé a lè lọ sóko, a lè ṣe nǹkan kan. Ìyẹn is just one entity. Tó bá mọ shenanigans tó ń lọ nínú Apapa port, tó bá mọ owó tó ń gbé jáde nínú Apapa, tó bá mọ iye ọkọ̀ tó ń wọlé sínú Apapa tí wọ́n dẹ̀ sọ fún wa pé àwa la gbọ́dọ̀ jèrè ẹ̀ nítorí pé àwa la ní waterways. Ẹni tó bá dẹ̀ ní omi ní àgbáyé òun ló ní agbára lọ́wọ́. Kí ló rò pé Amẹ́ríkà ṣe ń attack wọn ní Red Sea lẹ́nìí nítorí pé àwọn Houthi sọ pé àwọn ò ní àlá ọkọ̀ kọ̀ọ̀kan kó kọjá níbẹ̀ nítorí pé ìjà tó ń lọ lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ látara Palestine àti Israel. Amẹ́ríkà wa nínú ẹ̀ lè ṣe yẹn. Àwọn oníjókòó ká máa wò yẹn, wọ́n wá kó ọkọ̀ ogun, wọ́n kó lọ sí ọ̀nà Red Sea láti fi protect the interest àwọn ọkọ̀ tó fẹ́ kọjá tó ń gbé ọkọ̀ nǹkan tó máa jẹ́ pé nǹkan tó fẹ́ lọ tà from different countries around the world. Ìyẹn làwọn wá fi ń ṣe lẹ́lẹ́yà. Èyí tó yẹ kí gbogbo akájọ jókòó pé Àpápá ó yẹ kó máa benefit ọmọ Yorùbá ni títí dé ìlú òkè lọ́hùn, kò wá benefit ẹni tó wà ní Lagos State. Ẹ lọ wẹ̀ yìí tẹ̀ ń gbé ní Lagos State. Most of you, ìgbé ayé tó lọ lẹ̀ ń gbé. Ẹ̀ ń gbé ìgbé ayé tí kò rọrùn. It's not your fault, kò ń ṣẹjọ́ yín. It's because of the fraudulent amalgamation tí wọ́n create. What was the reason? Kí ni ìdí tí wọ́n ṣe created? Òun náà láti ń sọ bọ̀ látẹ̀ǹkan. The reason for the amalgamation of Nigeria, to unify different parts of Nigeria. Has that worked? Béèrè lọ́wọ́ rẹ̀ pé in the last 60 years plus, Has Nigeria been any benefit to us? No. Many of you knows that, but many of us live in denial. My name is OLAYOMI KOIKI. This is how far we can go this afternoon. But be rest assured that we'll be coming back at an appropriate time again for more educational purpose of why we Yorubas should now decide on our own future. The English, the Scottish, the Welsh have decided on their future. The Germans, the French, the Turkish have decided on their future. The Australians, the Canadians, the Americans have all decided their future. When are we going to decide our future? Níjọ́ ni wọ́n fẹ́ ká decide future yẹn. Oh, kí Tinubu ṣe tán ká tó decide future yẹn. Okay. But remember that we are already backward 50 years plus. It is time that we all stand for the Yoruba nation. I love when people say we are Lagosians, but what has the benefit of being a Lagosian? Mafia don't control seaport. That is another day, another conversation. Our mafia gidi, our don't control seaport, and these ones can kill anybody for that reasons. And I'm not joking now. Toba now mafia, don't pay the shipping line. Mafia burúkú ni wọ́n. They are very deadly people. They don't like it. They are very, very deadly. But I pity Yoruba people. One hour negotiations. But you don't have access to your waterways. The waterways is no longer in care of us. Let us think now. It is not yet too late. The future of the Yoruba people is no longer viable in Nigeria. It is time that we pull out before it is too late. I hope you've enjoyed the program, even though it's a very short one. But we'll try and do some other ones later. As you leave the broadcast, remember to share and ask that question. Do we still want to be Nigerians? And if we're going to be Nigerians, on what terms and conditions? Nigeria is no longer existing from the spiritual realm. But the physical side seems that it is still existing because we want it to exist. The day that we say enough is enough, it will be the end of Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us. And I hope you've learned one or two things about Nigeria. Nigeria is at the verge of breakup. And it will break at the appropriate time when we are ready. Just like Yugoslavia break out in 1992 to many, many countries that are existing today. The ethnic cleansing will not stop in Nigeria, whether you like it or not. Tinubu does not have what it takes to protect us. I'm talking about the whole of Nigeria, because Nigeria is already an infiltrated country by a full-blown Fulani terrorist agenda. You can look around you and ask. We are already surrounded. It might not appear to you, but it is getting closer. It might take maybe another few more years, but something must stop now so that we can remain as Yoruba people. And the only thing you can do for us is to just tell somebody that the Yoruba people have the right to self-determination. Self-determination is not a crime. I understand that some of you are very, very concerned because of the media in Nigeria portraying us as something else. We are not terrorists. We are just asking for the same right that any other citizen around the world is asking for. The Scottish does not want to have any union again with the UK. This was a union that was set up in 1701. But today, the Scottish people do not want to be part of the union. They want to have their own independent country. So when we are out like this, don't mix us with those criminals that are mixing things up. We are the Yoruba people that wants to exit the shithole country called Nigeria. Have a very good afternoon. Bye for now. Bravo.
Asiberula bomo, nashishe, nashishe, nashishe kaduna, ishakato kinira, nikecheka malepa, tesiwaju, fakoire, ato utodara.
Thank you so much. Bye for now.